Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a really fascinating piece of text, Psalm 21.
hmm
We're exploring this snapshot, focusing on a king, his relationship with the divine, and, themes of celebration, deep trust, and surprising power.
Yeah, and what really strikes me about this psalm is how it frames the king's whole existence, really. His triumphs, even his sense of self,
Hmm.
it all seems utterly dependent on the divine.
Dependent, yeah.
It's really not about the king's own might, but the strength that's given to him.
That's a crucial point right from the get-go. The text says the king rejoices in the Lord's strength, and his joy is, well, great because of the victories you give. It
Exactly.
immediately kind of flips the script. The celebration is about the divine source, not the king's own, say, military skill or political savvy.
Precisely. In this divine favor, it's shown as incredibly generous. We see that the king's heart's desire and even the specific request of his lips were granted.
Right.
So it's not just vague support. It's like a targeted fulfillment of his needs. And then you have these rich blessings on top of that, even a crown of pure gold placed on him. It really paints a picture of overwhelming divine provision and affirmation.
Which makes the next bit even more significant, doesn't it? He asks for life, and the response is just astonishing. Length of days forever and ever, and receiving eternal blessings.
hmm
I mean, this isn't just about a long reign, is it? That language suggests something bigger. What do you make of that phrasing, forever and ever?
Well, it's incredibly powerful language. In the context of ancient kingship, forever and ever could definitely imply dynastic success, enduring lineage, that sort of
It's
thing.
a dynasty.
But the Psalm's way of putting it, elevating it to eternal blessings, it feels like it pushes beyond just an earthly reign. It seems to connect the king's destiny to something, well, transcendent,
Oh,
tying his lifespan and his well-being directly into the divine nature itself. It's a remarkable level of blessing depicted here, really remarkable.
and it's not just about getting good things. It actually defines his status. The psalm highlights that his great glory, his splendor, his majesty, it all comes through the victories given by the divine.
Right.
So his royal status, that whole aura of power, it's basically a reflection of this divine partnership, not something he built himself.
Exactly. His authority is derivative, you could say, not inherent. And this partnership is shown as the absolute bedrock of his security. We read that he trusts in the Lord, and through the unfailing love of the Most High, he will not be shaken.
Mm-hmm.
So that trust isn't just a passive feeling. It's presented as an active principle, something that actually guarantees stability against opposition.
Okay, so if that's the foundation for the king, stability through trust,
hmm
what happens when opposition, inevitably shows up? The psalm definitely doesn't shy away from that.
No, it doesn't.
It talks about the divine response to enemies. It says the divine hand will seize foes and make them like a fiery furnace.
Yeah, intense imagery.
At the time of appearing, consumed in wrath. That's incredibly strong, destructive language.
It is very vivid. It leaves absolutely no doubt about the fate of those who oppose this divinely supported king. And the consequences, they extend beyond just the immediate enemies.
Right, it mentions their descendants.
Yes, it speaks of destroying their descendants and posterity from the earth.
Yeah.
The opposition is just utterly wiped out.
What's also fascinating is that even when these enemies are actively plotting, devising wicked schemes, the psalm flat out states they cannot succeed.
Right, futile.
Their plans are just useless.
Yeah, the text even gives this really vivid picture. The divine will make them turn their backs when aiming with a drawn bow.
Ah.
So their own weapons, meant for harm, are rendered useless. They're basically routed before they can even properly attack. It just reinforces that idea of absolute divine protection.
So we've gone from this initial celebration rooted in divine strength through these abundant blessings, this incredible security based on trust, and then this overwhelming display of power against anyone who would oppose him.
And that final verse, it brings it all back home, doesn't it?
Wow.
Back to acknowledging the source. It's a call. Be exalted in the Lord's strength.
Mm-hmm.
And then a commitment. We will sing and praise your might.
Yeah.
It's that final recognition that the real power, the real reason for celebration, it all belongs to the divine.
Mm.
So thinking about this, if the king's strength, his security, even his victory over opposition are all shown as flowing entirely from this divine trust and action, what does that imply? For anyone facing challenges, where does real stability or maybe vulnerability actually lie?
That's a great question. Looking at Psalm 21, what does it suggest is the ultimate source of victory and stability? Whether we're talking about a king back then or maybe for you and your own circumstances today, Definitely something to consider as you think about the challenges you might be facing.